The concrete walls were cold, rough, and smelled damp. Inside the concrete sat a little girl. She began to call out, trembling with fear. Her fingers drummed on the walls in desperation, but no one listened to her voice. The world above lived its own life, oblivious to her tiny voice. Then came a low, frightening hiss. Cement flowed from tiny holes in the walls. She screamed, but no one heard her scream. 15 years later. The birthday cake looked flawless, thick chocolate, shiny icing, and little figures of exploding buildings. Seated around the table were her co-workers, her favorite person, and of course her father, the maestro of destruction. The Walczak family's business was simple. If people no longer needed the house, they helped it retire spectacularly and loudly. Today, it is 25 years old. And so, as a gift, her father holds out a folder of projects to her. This will be her first demolition job, so she gladly accepts the offer. The next morning, she stood in front of a colossal concrete building. This building was built by Mallestraza. Legendary architect, genius or madman, opinions differ here. A woman with a puzzled look greeted her in the lobby. She was smiling, but there was something subtly unsettling about the smile. Beside her stood a boy of about 16. His sloppy blonde hair fell over his forehead, and a small dog lay at his feet, looking at her curiously. Sam decided to stay here for the night, and Jim accompanied her to her room. As she climbed the spiral staircase, Sam felt the cold walls of the building draw her in. Sitting on the bed, she noticed a picture of a little girl on the bedside table. It made her feel uneasy. To relax, she decided to take a bath. As she plunged headfirst into the water, she heard a voice. A thin child's voice was calling her name. Frightened, Sam quickly climbed out of the tub. The next morning, Sam got to work. She took measurements, studied the schematics. Everything went according to plan until she noticed one oddity. One of the walls didn't match the blueprints. The wall was where it shouldn't have been. Trying to figure it out, she met her neighbor, an elderly woman with a husky voice and curious eyes. Besides her, there was another person living in the house, a dark-skinned man, a laborer it seemed. She went up to the 8th floor, although Jimmy had forbidden her to go up there. There she found Jimmy's hiding place. On the table was a diary. Opening it, she realized that the guy had been recording her movements in detail, as if he was keeping tabs on her. She immediately drove to the nearest store, the only place where she could catch the internet. Going online, she started reading an article about the Mallestraza building. It turned out that bodies had been found embedded in concrete in the walls of that building. The police decided to detain Mallestraza, but found him dead. After the shocking findings on the internet and the strange rumors about the building, Sam returns home. She asks Jimmy to show her Mallestraza's office. He agrees, but only until tonight. With time left until evening, Sam sets to work again. She picked up a can of spray paint and began marking out the walls. Everything was going according to plan until a huge man with an axe appeared out of nowhere and started chopping down the cross. But then an old lady neighbor came out. In her robe, with a mug of tea in her hand. Completely unperturbed, as if it were an ordinary Tuesday. Surprisingly, her presence had an effect, and the man left. The old woman invited Sam into her apartment. Noticing Mallestraza's books on the shelf, she discreetly took one of them. It turned out that the architect was a real psycho. In ancient Egypt, people were bricked up in pyramids, believing it would revitalize the building. Mallestraza apparently decided to try the same trick, only with a modern twist. Jimmy showed up and took her to the architect's room. On the way, he told her a story about a girl who was bricked up in the wall. Her body was found by a dog along with the others, including Jimmy's father. Jimmy took her to Mallestraza's apartment. Feeling strange here, she returns to her room and notices that the mirrors are shaking strangely. Taking it down, she sees that blood is leaking out of it. A second later, 2 strong hands appear from the wall and pull her inside. Sam came to her senses in a concrete well that was slowly but surely filling with cement grout. At that moment, Sam jumped up sharply in bed, gulping for air. Her heart was pounding as if she had been awakened not by a nightmare, but by the IRS with an unexpected audit. While she was trying to regain consciousness, Peter came in with flowers. She decided to go with her boyfriend to the architect's apartment one more time. But when they saw Mary, they stopped. She was talking to a blank wall, as if there was a person in front of her. promising that it would all be over soon. Turns out Mary's husband was among the victims that Mallestraza had walled up behind those concrete walls. That's why she stayed here. She believed the house was alive. Peter came to her with news. He offered to go on a trip, and the girl immediately agreed. Tonight was the last night in this cursed place. But someone wasn't going to let them go. While they were studying, Jimmy, crying with jealousy, eavesdropped on them. The morning began with a nightmare. They found a dog, killed with extreme cruelty. Not knowing who was capable of such a thing, she decided to talk to the dog's owner, Jimmy. Jimmy looked at Sam with genuine pain. He swore he would never hurt his only friend. But the dog was dead, the house was about to flatten, and a feeling was growing inside her that this was far from over. Something didn't want to let her go. Something lurking in the shadows of that damned building. She gathered up all her notes on the house, printed them out, put them in an envelope, and prepared to send them to her father's company so they would finally send bombers to finish the place off. But, as if in mockery of her determination, Jimmy appeared. In his hands he held the manuscripts of Mallestraza yellowed pages, which hid the answer to one of the main questions: why the drawings of the house do not coincide with the real walls. Inside the building was a secret room that no one knew about. He and Jimmy went there at once. Jimmy went up to the roof to see if there was a hole for light or air in this secret room. Time dragged agonizingly long, and without waiting for him to return, Sam and Peter went after him. Suddenly, there was a muffled cry. He was yelling that he had broken his leg. There was a hole in the center of the roof and a tunnel running underneath. She couldn't just stand there and watch Jimmy squirming in pain below. She grabbed the rope Peter had found and started to climb down. He held her tightly as he slowly made his way down. At that moment a shot rang out.
Peter, starkering, let go of the rope. Sam fell downward.
When she came to her senses, she noticed someone sitting around the corner. It was Mallestraza himself. Slowly he looked up at her and turned on an old tape recorder. From the speakers came Jimmy's voice. Mallestraza watched her, as if waiting for the moment when she would realize the depth of what was happening. Soon Jimmy explained himself. It turned out that he was in love with her, which is why he got rid of Peter. And now he wants her to fall in love with him too. And Mallestraza has been here for over 5,000 days, ever since they found the people walled up in the house. He once chose this place himself. Seeking salvation, he hid in this concrete trap. He even framed another man to be mistaken for Mallestraza. But after 3 weeks, he realized he had trapped himself. The exit was blocked with rocks and he couldn't get out. Mary knew all about it, but decided not to interfere. It was her way of avenging her husband. Sam sat beside him, keeping her eyes on the man who had become a living ghost in his own home. Soon Jimmy returned and made them dance while kissing. And as a reward for his performance, he brought a basket of food and a walkie-talkie. Workers came in and began setting explosives to demolish the house. Sam realized that time was running out. She frantically grabbed the walkie-talkie, her voice shaking, but she had to convince him. She declared that she loved him, but Jimmy didn't believe her. Mallestraza silently began to prepare. He unearthed an old grave in the center of the room, pressed a hidden button, revealing the secret of his latest ritual. Then held out the weapon to Sam and asked him to fire it. She complied with his request. Cement slowly filled the space, burying him forever. At the last moment, Jimmy stopped everyone and announced that Sam was inside. As the others tried to lift the girl up, Jimmy jumped down and crashed. Sam was taken to the hospital and Mary was arrested. And the Mallestraza house, as if mocking the fate of its occupants, was left standing. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel.
See you soon.